Hey, right guys, TrophyMuncher's Joe here, and I'm going to let you in on a tiny little secret. You can't tell anyone, but I'm going to tell you anyway. But Dead Space is one of the greatest games of all time. Not just one of the best survival horrors of all time, but one of the greatest games of all time. Why not try and go for the platinum? Again, because you best believe I got the platinum on the original PS3 in 2008, so we're doing it again in 2023. I'm sure there'll be plenty of collecting audio logs, dismembering limbs left, right and centre, and of course near-death experiences. We'll be having plenty of those. But for now, there's 47 trophies between me and that beautiful platinum. But for now, all we have to do is sit back, relax. Actually, I don't know about relax. I don't think there's any relaxation to be had on the USG Ishimura, but maybe relax and enjoy the remake of a game that I consider to be one of the best games of all time.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. When the blazing sun is gone, when the nothing shines upon, then you show your little light. Twinkle, twinkle all the night.
The roadmap's going to be fairly simple. With step 1, we're just going to go through the entire game using only the plasma cutter. And any trophies that come naturally is a win because we don't have to worry about them later on in the roadmap. Step 2 is to go through the game on New Game Plus and use all the guns as much as I want, as there is separate trophies to get 30 kills with every single gun. And then pick up any collectibles we might have missed and enjoy the game again. And then our final step, and this is the dreaded one, is to play the game a third time, and this is on Impossible Mode. And for those that don't know, Impossible Mode, if you die at any point in the game, no, you could be 7 hours in, it doesn't matter, but if you die, you are losing your entire progress and you're going to have to start from chapter 1 all over again. I mean, I'm kind of nervous about that one because if I die hour 7 into that playthrough, I'm going to cry myself to sleep. Like, that's a given. As I mentioned before, dismembering limbs you're going to be doing plenty of in this game. So the first trophy, Marksman, came fairly quickly for dismembering 50 limbs. This popped before I even finished chapter 1, so we were locked in.
Yeah.
And after dismembering those 50 limbs and exploring the USG Ishimura a little bit more, we were able to get welcome aboard for completing chapter 1 on any difficulty setting. Although it says any difficulty setting, I did start on hard mode just to kind of get a feel for how difficult Impossible Mode was going to be. But you best believe I had no trouble with chapter 1. We were fine. I maybe you've been a little bit tense in certain rooms, but for the most part I was fine. I promise. At some point in chapter 2 I was able to get raise the stakes, which was for pinning an enemy. Just basically rip off a spear or a pipe or even the whatever they are, pincers from the aliens, I guess. And using Isaac's ability of telekinesis, just launch them at an enemy and pin them to a wall. I think pinning enemies has got to be the most deadly piece of weaponry that Isaac has. For the most part, if you're pinning an enemy, you're killing them in one shot. So using pipes and bits of cutlery is actually probably going to be Isaac's best friend during the Impossible run, but we'll see. Naturally, after that, I was able to get Lab Rat for completing Chapter 2 on any difficulty setting. And then, of course, all systems go for completing Chapter 3 on any difficulty setting. Then at some point in Chapter 4, I was able to get Brute Force for killing a Brute. I don't know why this matters, but I feel like I would have called this trophy Brute All. I don't know why, I just thought that would have been kind of fun. No? Okay, just me then. Brutes aren't too bad, to be honest, because you have stasis, which slows down enemies. You just do that, run around the back and just shoot them. And these brutes, I mean, they look threatening, don't get me wrong, but they do drop within about 5 seconds if you are able to pull that off. So by using stasis, I was able to get the trophy Freeze, which was to use stasis on 50 enemies. Again, this trophy isn't too difficult because you'll be using stasis a lot on enemies anyway. Because when they're all charging at you 5v1, you're going to want this by your side, that's for sure. But after taking down the not so difficult Brute, I was able to get Cannon Fodder for completing Chapter 4 on any difficult setting. And not too long after that was True Believer for completing Chapter 5. Of course, the USG Ishimura might be full of aliens and near-death experiences. And even basketball at some point. Isaac's got to have a bit of fun, I guess, from time to time as well. The USG Ishimura is also full of audio logs and text logs, and you get logs from all your friends at some point in the game. Everyone's just trying to talk to Isaac at all points of the game, I guess. And I was able to get the trophy Storyteller for collecting 75 logs. There are also 7 weapons in the game. I wasn't able to use any of these at any point in this run. So that was a bit unfortunate. I had to pick up all these weapons, do the animation of looking at them and just knowing in my head, oh, I'm not going to be able to use this for another 10 hours or so, which... The Trophy Surgeon was next for dismembering 500 limbs. Honestly, you could have thrown in a trophy for dismembering 1,000,000 limbs and I think I would have got this trophy at some point in the first run. And then as Chapter 6 is the halfway point of the game, of course, naturally so, like with every game, you've got to have a big boss fight. Yeah, this boss wasn't too hard. He's just thrown his 3 tentacles around. You have to throw goo back at him and then he flops at some point.
Your balls out my face.
I'm going to be honest, the Leviathan looks big, strong and dangerous, but the worst enemy in this game that hit me more than anyone else was these things. I don't know what they're called, but they just have like one tentacle doing this is an accurate representation of that. And they're just relentlessly shooting at you constantly. They almost killed me about 5 times, I'm pretty sure. Enter the trophy Exterminator for killing the Leviathan. So after that we were able to get Greenhouse Effect for completing Chapter 6. And then not too long after that was SOS for completing Chapter 7. And then, oh my god, the Leviathan is back. This time he's called the Leviathan Remnant. In the original you kind of just sat in a turret and you have to shoot the big glowing balls, the weak spots of course. Whereas here you just kind of had a bit more movement, it's a bit more action heavy and you're a bit more immersive, I guess. So I really enjoyed that, and then we were able to get the trophy Get Off My Ship. And straight after that was Strange Transmissions for completing Chapter 8 on any difficult setting. In Chapter 9 you're basically on a separate ship. You're not on the USG Ishimura anymore, you're on this little mini tiny ship that we basically infested with these aliens. Definitely not Hammond's fault. And on this ship there is a shooting gallery. You have to survive the shooting gallery to get the trophy Front Toward Enemy. And not too long after that was the trophy Backbreaker for killing 10 enemies with a stomp attack. You know when I said telekinesis and stasis were his 2 best friends? You can add stomping into the mix as well, because Isaac's stomp is brutal. Then there was the trophy Wreckage for completing Chapter 9. I was randomly checking the trophy list at this point and noticed the trophy Pack Rat for placing 25 items in storage. So I just threw some stuff from my inventory into there and managed to get that trophy. And then like I said, Isaac likes to have a bit of downtime, I guess. Of course you gotta go for the trophy Z Baller or Z Baller. I don't really know. We'll go Z Baller. No, but Z Baller would make more sense because I think Z stands for 0. So we'll go for Z-Baller, and that's for completing level 6 in 0G basketball. This honestly wasn't too hard, just go for the rings that glow because they're 10 points, whereas the others are 5 points. You don't want the 5 points, you want the 10 points, so just go for that, and you'll get that done in no time. Then came along Keeper of the Faith for completing Chapter 10 on any difficulty setting. Now I seem to remember the Peng treasure in the original game was actually kind of hard to find, and I noticed the Peng treasure had been moved. It wasn't in its original spot from the original game, so in my head I was like, oh, I bet they've hidden it in some incredible deep crevice.
What?
But no, it was just behind a couple of boxes and in a locker, so with the title Peng written on the locker, so it was not too hard to find actually. Not too long after that was the other trophy I mentioned for collecting 150 logs. Something this remake has added as well is side missions, quotation marks, because they're kind of just you looking at holograms of Nicole, I guess. There are 3 separate trophies for side missions in this game, and one of them is whole again for pursuing Nicole's investigation. Before I was able to do the other 2 side missions though, I was able to get the trophy Merchant, which was for collecting all schematics. This honestly wasn't too hard. If you look on your map, any room that's kind of greyed out at any point on the map, it means a room that you haven't searched yet. So before finishing Chapter 11, I just made sure to go into every single room that I hadn't searched already. Then there was a trophy Full Clearance for creating the Master Security Override. Then came the trophy Final Regeneration, that was for discovering the Hunter's origins. And then just before finishing Chapter 11, I got the trophy Built to Order, which was for installing every weapon upgrade. And then Betrayed for completing Chapter 11. Okay, so we've had the Leviathan, we've had the Leviathan Remnant, now we've got the Hive Mind. Surely they're going to mix this up and not just have it be you shooting weak points and big gooey balls to take down the boss. Surely? Oh no, you are just doing exactly that again, I guess. But that's okay because we get a trophy mindless prey for killing the hive mind. Imagine playing Impossible Mode and dying at this point. After killing that, we just had to run onto the ship and complete the game, and we got 3 trophies in one, which, side note by the way, don't you just love when the trophies kind of ping off one by one? So in that fashion, we were able to get 1 gun for beating the game using only the plasma cutter, set a benchmark for completing the game on medium difficulty or above, and then Exodus, which was for completing chapter 12 on any difficulty setting. 3 silvers. Beautiful. Alright, so going in step 2, I knew I had to kill 30 enemies with every single weapon, and that on New Game Plus you're able to actually get a secret ending which they've created just for this remake, which I was very intrigued about. But to access it you had to pick up 12 separate markers which were hidden throughout the ship. I was actually kind of excited to go around finding the markers because I didn't think the Pain Treasure was that difficult to find.
Oh. It's so easy.
And then the 150 logs just popped randomly anyway, so that wasn't a challenge either. But the first marker fragment came in chapter 1, and that was on a bookshelf. So great. Not that hard to find, but maybe the other 11 are, fingers crossed. As I mentioned, I'm able to use any gun that I want now, so I started with the pulse rifle and killed 30 enemies with that for the trophy. Auto fire. It was fine. It wasn't my favourite, but it was fine. Next up came arguably my least favourite of the guns. Live with the... or live? I'm going to go live with the hot ones for killing 30 enemies with the flamethrower.
Flamethrower done.
We got that out of the way, and then straight after we got a cut above for killing 30 enemies with the Ripper. I don't think this one's as bad as the flamethrower, but I wouldn't say it's one of my favourites either. This is kind of just like one of those lower down weapons for me. After that we were able to actually use a really good gun, which was Pusher for killing 30 enemies with the Force gun. This was great for crowd control, just having like hordes of enemies running at you and just, oh, back off, go away, please. I wasn't talking about you, by the way, I was talking about the aliens, just to clarify that one. Next up was Full Contact for killing 30 enemies with the contact beam. I do not remember the contact beam being this good. Bro, this gun came in clutch so much. And then finally was Eviscerator. Yeah, I said that first time. For killing 30 enemies with the line gun. This gun's basically like the plasma cutter, but big. It's like the plasma cutter's dad or something. We were starting to wrap things up on New Game Plus, and I was aware that there's a trophy called Wishbone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that this trophy is annoying. You basically have to have a limb of an enemy dangling off by a bit of skin or thread, so there's like nothing there. And while it's dangling off, you have like a split second to use your telekinesis to rip that limb off. And this just would not happen. It would not happen. I was actually watching videos of like cheesers on how to do this, and apparently you can go up to like certain suits and use your telekinesis and do this basically and just wiggle the limbs around, and then you get the trophy. So I did have that in the back of my mind. I didn't want to do that, but I did have it in the back of my mind. But luckily, we were able to get Wishbone just before the end of New Game Plus. By pure chance, I was able just to rip this guy's tail off. Sorry, but you got me a trophy, so thank you, I guess. And then on the final chapter of New Game Plus, I was able to get the trophy maxed out for fully upgrading all weapons and all equipment. That's a lot of money spent, but money well spent, I'd say, because we got gold for it. Of course, during the entirety of New Game Plus, I was aware that there was that alternate ending, so I was picking up all the fragments that I could find. And naturally, I was able to come across 7 of the 12, which I was actually very proud of myself for doing.
Is it here?
But I refused. I refused to look at any videos to find where these were. So before chapter 12, I went around every part of the ship again and was actually able to find every fragment without watching a video on how to do so. There's only 3, I'd argue, that are kind of actually well hidden. The rest are honestly on desks or bookshelves. So yes, I was able to do that and get the trophy Reunion, which was to see the alternate ending on any difficulty and get Isaac's goofy looking smile. I don't know what that was about, but sure. And then straight after was Trusted Contractor for completing New Game Plus on any difficulty. That's all the trophies, apart from one, which was of course to complete the game on Impossible Mode, the biggest challenge so far. Everything else has been fun and games, I guess. Up to this point, it's not been too bad.
Jesus.
But Impossible Mode, one little slip up, one tiny mistake, and that's it, you'll start the entire game again. We've had 2 runs of practice now, so surely Impossible Mode is doable. Yeah, the beard's gone. And so is my sanity, actually. Funnily enough, beard, sanity, both gone. So did I manage to complete Impossible Mode, or did I end up giving up after multiple deaths? With my training on hard mode, I knew where to expect enemies to pop out from, for the most part at least anyway. And I knew basically all I had to do was make sure I was stocked up on ammo and health. Throw a few nodes in there to upgrade some of the basic weapons that I enjoy using. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, there were some close encounters. There were multiple times where I was this close to death. Like, it wasn't even funny. The first few chapters were fairly simple, but they don't throw too much at you in one go. But by going one step at a time, I was able to get through chapter after chapter. So keep a clear head, breathe, and maybe you'll be okay. There was even a moment where the Dead Space application had to do an update, and I went back into the game after the update, and my entire map had just disappeared. I was being locked out of rooms that I was meant to be going into. Oh, and I also fell down a hole. I don't know how that happened.
Hey, but I think they've done an update that's botched the whole game up. What the fuck?
Isaac's a badass, don't get me wrong. He can take down thousands of these things, but when it comes to climbing out of this hole, no, he can't do that. He can't be doing that. I mean, his suit does weigh a ton, so that kind of probably makes sense actually, but still. And just grind through the levels more and more, one room at a time, one enemy at a time, one stomp at a time. I mean, I was this close to dying in this room because I was running through these certain rooms where fire is just blasting down these corridors, and what do you know, someone has to grab me from behind and hold on to me for dear life. I was spamming X so fast. I knew at that point I had to get out of this room, because if those flames get you, you're done. Like, that's like a one-shot death for the most part. Luckily I just made it. It felt like an Indiana Jones movie. I had to like shoot the doors open and run through them quickly, but that was a very close death. As we know, Isaac likes his basketball, and I even had a bit of time for bowling, which was kind of nice.
Relax.
I'm sure Isaac enjoyed doing that. We had chapter 9 where we had to go onto that little random ship, and that was probably the most intense chapter because everything's just really fast in that chapter. It's fairly short, it's only about 15 minutes, but it's 15 minutes of basically non-stop action. And I was a little bit worried for that chapter, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit worried. But when that ship was blowing up, I was running. I knew for a fact there was about 4 of them on my tail, so I was just bolt gone. So doing well so far. Hopefully nothing goes too wrong. Kept grinding through the chapters, only had about 4 left, and then found my way onto the final chapter. 11 chapters down, 1 to go, and then the platinum's ours. And guys, these rooms were making me sweat. We had like 3 big rooms of just enemies, then an outside area full of just enemies. But then came the boss, the hive mind, as we like to call him. Or as the game likes to call him. They called him that, I didn't, but the hive mind. And bro, I was not too worried about this boss because it's fairly easy. You just gotta go left and right, it's fine. But the only part of this boss fight that I was worried about was the upside down bit. I'm disorientated with that stuff anyway, and I knew if I didn't manage to pull off the shots, he just eats you. That's the entire game reset, and you best believe I'm not doing all that again. And then guys, what do you think happened? I'll give you 3 seconds to guess what actually happened. There Isaac is flopping around, crying and complaining because he's near the verge of death. And then you best believe I missed every single shot. The sweat and the stress got to me, guys. I told myself, don't let it get to you, and it did. That's exactly what it did. Boom, miss, 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 miss. And then this is just gonna break your heart, I'm afraid, but managed to pull off. My boy Isaac managed to pull off 3 individual shots. Bang, bang, bang. So I managed to do it. He dropped me, and Isaac ran onto his ship as he loves to do. No goofy Isaac smile with this ending. All there was the trophy for completing Impossible Mode and that beautiful Dead Space Remake Platinum that we've been waiting for.
Come on. Yes. Hey.
I feel like I can breathe now. I can breathe. I'm just taking these off the top of my head, but gameplay is a 10 out of 10. The spooks / scary factor is definitely a 10 out of 10. Story, I'll go a 9 out of 10 for the story. Platinum difficulty, I'll go 5 out of 10. And Dead Space Remake as a whole gets a 10 out of 10 for me. But thanks for watching the video, guys. This is something different to me on the channel, but I really enjoyed doing it. And I reckon I'm going to do it again with Hogwarts Legacy coming out in a few days. So if you're new, maybe subscribe if that seems like something that might interest you. Until next time, guys, take care. Peace.